This segment is brought to you by The Harvest. Meet us in downtown St. Augustine, where you can sip, savor, and shop your way into something unforgettable. Enjoy hand-selected wines, explore a market filled with artisan goods from local makers, and indulge in chef-inspired specials designed for the season. Sip well, savor more, and shop local. Welcome back to Ancient City Creatives. I am one of your hosts, Sophia Schroeder, and I am here with the amazing
Ray George, and we are here live, the only podcast, the only one in the nation that is being produced right next to the governor's house in the heart of St. Augustine.
Amazing. We love that little fact of history, and we love to bring in all of the good energy and love from our town to Ancient City Creatives.
Absolutely. And guess who I have today for you, Sophia?
Who do we have joining us today, Ray? Let me know.
Today we have a very, very special guest, Kellen Garner. He's an actor, director, writer, very talented, and we're glad to have him on today. How you doing, Kellen?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you, Ray.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Of course, yeah. I guess we'll just get started. So you want to take a second to introduce yourself, let us know a little bit about who you are, what you got going on, what you've done in the past.
Sure. I have to say I'm a former Florida resident, hopefully a future Florida resident. That's in the works right now.
Yeah, you'd be very welcome here. Absolutely.
That's what my wife keeps saying. She says we should definitely be looking into the St. Augustine real estate market. So
it's a wonderful place to live for sure.
Well, I've heard no complaints from anybody that does. So, and every time we visit, I start looking around for sale signs.
Do you have any creative endeavors that you're looking for in St. Augustine or Florida?
I think it's important, no matter where I live, that I feel creative energy. I don't know that it's necessary that where I live becomes a film studio or becomes like all of my films are going to be set here, but I'm very sensitive to location. And so every time I've been there, the creative engine is always firing. So no matter where I live, I think it's a curse of being a film producer, is you're always location scouting. So as far as that is concerned, that's certainly been my experience, not just in St. Augustine, but all over Florida.
Yeah, where do you live now?
You know, I live in Utah right now.
Oh,
I've been in Utah. I came here 2 years ago. We moved from Florida to Utah to spend more time with some family. And that stay is extended longer than we thought it would. But we're excited to move on.
Oh, I bet. So what are you doing right now in Utah, at least when it comes to film production or acting?
Well, nothing specifically in the state. Because I produce different kinds of genre films, I can kind of do that job anywhere. And so I've been working for the last couple of years with some really close friends and producers on 2 or 3 different projects that could be shot anywhere from Canada to Europe to other states in the Union. Not necessarily having anything to do with Utah. It's just kind of a home base right now.
Well, I'm glad that you're thinking about coming down to Florida, because then I can at least use those creative endeavors for our benefit, of course.
Absolutely.
Well, of course.
So, yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
So I was just going to give a little intro about sort of my background in film.
Please.
Like Ray said, I started as an actor, and I still am an actor, but I consider myself a writer-director first, and an actor out of necessity. Not that I don't love it,
Right.
but I started on the stage in high school and college, and then after college in community theater. And I got invited to participate in some indie films, and quickly learned that while I loved the environment, I hated not having control of the story we were telling or how the production was going. It felt like every amateur production was like a trip to the dentist. And I just thought the only way to fix this is to fix it myself. And so probably about 10 years ago, maybe a little more than that actually, I started writing with the intent of producing my own films, not knowing what I was doing, not knowing how to put a budget together, not knowing how I was going to, manage to make a movie. Luckily, I came up at a time where there were like-minded people that I had run into that also wanted to make films. I have a really close friend and collaborator named Christopher Sheffield, who has been the cinematographer and a co-director on several different projects that I've worked on. We were both kind of coming into the industry at the same time, and working with him was like kismet. I mean, it was just I really failed into success. My first film I wrote very, very quickly, took no notes from anybody, no advice, put everything on an Amex, and went to Newport Beach, California, and shot a film guerrilla style, no permits, just really just setting myself up for absolute disaster and failure. But instead, we finished the film. It got released. It got distribution. It was just so not the norm of what most indie filmmakers go through in their early stages. I didn't start with a short film. I didn't start with a capstone project. I just was like, I'll just make a feature. How hard can that be? And my first two features were kind of the same type of film, where I kept the cast really small. I kind of like, how would I describe it's not even a genre. It's just two people in a room talking for an hour and a half. That's kind of the simplest way.
It works for Hitchcock.
Yeah. Well, I just was trying to make it as cheap as possible because I was paying for it. So that's why I cast myself, not because I thought it was the best choice, but I was free.
Appreciate the honesty.
There you go. So,
well, I just hear so much from other filmmakers who are in that breakthrough mode. They try to romanticize or glorify their origin story, and I just see right through it because it's so not how this works.
yeah.
Maybe once in a million, you hear a story and you think, oh, that's a really cool way to break in, but just doesn't work that way.
So what do you think, Kellen? I'm one of those that believes that hard work kind of trumps talent. Does that resonate with you?
I agree. I do, because I know a lot of very lazy, talented people who are still waiting for their ship to come in.
Right.
And they grow very bitter because they've been passed by. And what they fail to understand is talent, looks, it had nothing to do with it. They just didn't have enough pragmatism and drive to understand that this film business is a business first.
That is
and
very true. Very true.
What that means very simply is if you expect people to invest in you, they expect you to have a path to not just getting their money back, but to make money. It's a business.
For sure.
If you want to open a restaurant and your goal is to just make great food, but you don't hope to make any money, you'll be closed in a few months.
No.
So I always approached it as like, what's the amount of money I could stand to lose and not go broke, but always hoping that I would find a way to distribute the films and be profitable. So while those first two films were rough, creative experiences, and they're tough for me to watch now, what I am proud of is I made my money back. My wife didn't divorce me. And it kind of replaced film school. For me, I learned so much from all the mistakes that I made that that's where my confidence comes from, not from talent, just
Yeah,
from
that's very, very true.
experience.
Some crafts are, you get better at them by doing them, not studying
Hmm.
about them, right?
Right.
I could just imagine a sculptor trying to read books on sculpture without actually getting a chisel, starting to, feel what it feels like,
And there's only so many things that, school, especially film school, can teach you without you actually physically having to do it yourself, and especially having to do it with little to no direction other than yourself.
Yeah.
Just what we were saying, that hard work, that persistence, honestly is, I mean, I feel like I haven't obviously seen your first two feature films, and you say that, they're not maybe as good as what you can make now, but there definitely is something to say about using all that hard work and effort and passion to make something that, okay, it's maybe not necessarily the best thing in the world, especially first or second go around, but you wouldn't have been able to learn it another way. And it definitely is an interesting way to enter into the field for sure without, kind of going in blind a little bit. But I kind of
Yeah.
agree with you, especially in the nature of like video and film. It's just kind of one of those things that unless you are doing it and you're in it, there's only so much that you can really learn from that by just someone
Right.
telling you.
Well, it was the romance of naivete. I really thought that this thing was going to, win a bunch of festival hearts and be a little festival darling and, get picked up by an A24 or something like that. And then I was going to go to Sundance and wear a big, heavy coat and rub shoulders with Robert Redford.
Yeah.
None of that happened. Spoiler alert. Um, what did happen was a very unromantic but very practical sort of, I don't even know what to call it, a transaction, I guess. I had a friend who saw my first movie. He was an actor living in LA. He had an internship at a distribution company. He thought I had a lot of potential, and he said, "Let me take your projects to my company that I'm starting to work with." And I thought this was going to be a lengthy process. And like a couple of days later, they called us and said, "We'd like to work out a deal to represent you, to distribute this, to take it to foreign markets."
That's great.
And from there, it wasn't a bunch of festivals. It was paperwork and money changing hands and a contract, and that was it. And we would get quarterly reports, and still to this day, that's what it is. It's a surprise in my bank account every quarter, um,
That's
with
wonderful.
no little to no effort on my part, because these films are 10 years old. But this distribution company is still, putting it out there and still, um,
Well, what would you say to
still
some
earning.
of those aspiring filmmakers that wanna experience that moment, that first here's a stack of paper that I want you to sign because I want to distribute your movie. How did that moment feel? Because I'm sure that our audience is going to be like, I'm sure they have pen and paper. They're like ready, ready to take notes on how it happened and the whole thing. So, how was your
I
experience?
don't, I don't know. It's a strange thing because, like, even today, we're getting to the end of the year, and there's so much that I wanted to do this year that I didn't. So many projects that are just sort of unfinished business. And I have to remind myself that even earlier this year, I had a film distributed that there was a 3-year process of getting that film made during COVID.
Yeah, that's tough.
And that's a huge achievement. But one of the dangerous things about being a filmmaker is um, I'm easy to please, but I'm hard to satisfy.
Mm.
So, like, moments are very pleasing to me. Like in production, actor gives an incredible performance. and you're just like emotionally moved by what they did with something you wrote. But that moment fades quickly, and you get caught up in this sort of minutia of filmmaking and film business. And every once in a while, you have to remind yourself that it's a romantic experience. And I don't have any illusions about the fact that that's really hard. That's really like mentally, it's challenging. It's challenging to like ride the wave of like, look at me, I made a movie.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of myself. Um, Especially in the streaming world, because you don't get like instant feedback, you know? Like I premiered that movie this year in March, and we went to several different theaters, and I got to see the movie with audiences, and that's a completely different experience than reading online feedback from audience members, which is a very kind of a cold and dangerous thing. You know, you don't want to. I always take the the sort of the average, the batting average of, you know, you don't believe your 5-star reviews and you don't believe your 1-star reviews. You don't internalize any of that, because it's either your mom is reacting to how proud she is, or somebody who hates you from high school is like, I'll show him. So for the most part, I've gotten really good at kind of ignoring that noise. Um, Once the film is finished and it's out there, and I've done everything I can for it, my mind has shifted to like, what is next? I'm always kind of looking forward, which is a blessing and a curse.
Well, why's
Absolutely.
that? Tell me more about that. Or at least maybe the latter, curse.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I don't feel like I've been in this long enough to be nostalgic for the road that I'm on, because I haven't arrived where I want to. So that makes it tough.
I can see that. I mean, I have my own share of imposter syndrome. You know, even sometimes when we go behind the mic right here, just in our little studio in St. Augustine, you know, you kind of feel like, I don't, you know, people tell me that it's good. I kind of feel like it was good, but how do I really know if it's good? And then, you know, when you start thinking about that, it's like, okay, well, now I got to do it again next week. I want to make sure that it's going to be good enough for next week. Well, how would you? I mean, you touched a little bit upon that, but how do you battle kind of, you know, that inner voice that might be in your head, especially when you're looking for what's next and trying to, you know, continue to prosper and find new opportunity? How do you, you know, keep that little voice that's in your head a little bit? You know, I think it's a little important to you. You know, we are our biggest critics, but
Yeah.
how do you kind of, you know, put that to the side so you can focus a little bit more on those positive attributes that, you know, might help you for the future?
Well, I think the only way I've been able to do that successfully is to ask myself this one little question. And this applies to what you're talking about, but it applies to, you know, if I'm selling something, if I'm on stage trying to tell an audience, like, really proud of this and hope you enjoy it, or if I'm just writing, um, the question I ask myself is, are you being honest with yourself?
Definitely.
So sometimes I find myself writing out of spite, or I'm writing to try to achieve something that's beyond my grasp, and I'm not being truthful because I'm giving in to sort of a, I don't know, a baser need to just like either compete or to show somebody up, or just being fake and performative, which is another trap that is easy to fall into when you are trying to sell entertainment as,
Absolutely.
hey, buy this, watch this, it's great. Um, so I learned a long time ago probably the first premiere for my first movie, I had these rose-colored glasses on. I didn't stand in the back of the auditorium and think, I've made the greatest movie ever made. But I did think, I want this feeling forever.
Yeah.
Of sitting in a room with strangers watching something that I made and not being self-conscious about, oh my gosh, my performance, and they're looking at me, and I'm like, I don't have that problem. Like I said, I started in theater, so very aware. It's not method acting. I'm always aware of where the edge of the stage is, because if not, you're going to fall off, which I've done. So it's not a performance thing for me, and it's not a character-driven thing. But honesty, I think, is the simplest gauge for yourself internally. Even if you get criticism, somebody tells you on the street, like, hey, listen to the podcast, not a fan. Your first reaction might be, how dare you? Let's fight about it.
But it hits hard if it's your family. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, that's true. That's true. But can I be honest about something else?
You said you're honest. I hope so.
Yeah, that's why we're here. That's why we're here.
I've got 4 or 5 movies under my belt. And whenever my family, and I mean like extended family, uncles, aunts, cousins, talk about my films, it's never like, hey, I watched your movie and it's really good. The novelty of it has worn off for them. So whenever they talk about it, it's always to tell me, hey, I don't know how to fire up Amazon Prime, or I don't have Apple TV, so I still haven't seen the last 2 movies you made. And I'm okay with that, because it highlights something that I've learned about myself, which is that I am not making movies for my friends and family. I am making them for a massive general audience. And it means more to me to hear somebody that I don't know say something nice, or that a film was important to them, or they were moved emotionally. That's an easier gauge of honesty. Because if my kids watch my films, they can't separate me from it. So, they're not as impressed. They're not enjoying it on the same level. So that's where honesty is my sort of North Star for stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think you touched upon something that Sophia and I have seen as a common thread in a lot of the creatives and artists that have come through. Usually, for audiences, the craft becomes more enjoyable when you're kind of, as an artist, entertaining yourself.
Yeah,
because you're like, I'm having fun, I'm having a blast doing this and everything. So you're kind of like dragging this empty, red wagon behind you that people are like, wait, I want to climb on, I want to jump on too, because you're laughing all the way. So
it's true.
Yeah, so if you take that approach, it might even lessen the blow sometimes of the criticism. People that are, I didn't like what you did, but at least tell me what you didn't like.
Yeah,
because then I can adjust my craft. I can improve it and everything. Not just blind criticism like I don't like it.
Well, that's true. I've read, negative reviews about stuff I made, and had the reaction, they're right. I agree.
That's how we learn.
It's hard to see the forest from the trees when you're in it.
Mm-hmm.
There's also circumstantial things that affect how a film is produced. A million different decisions that you have to make, a million different compromises. And you can't put subtitles in the film that says, hey, if this scene doesn't work for you, just so you're aware.
A disclaimer.
Our lead actress had COVID at the time, so be gentle.
Yeah.
They don't care. They're not going to judge it that way. And nor should they. I mean, it's the same as sports. As fans, you want your team to be successful. And when they're not, you don't want to hear the coach make a million excuses for why they failed, why they lost.
Right.
Um, we can be understanding of, well, their schedule is tough, or there's injuries, or the weather. But at the end of the day, you're trying to win a game, and and you get emotionally invested in that. And if it doesn't work, you it doesn't mean you're not a fan. It just means you were disappointed. And moviegoers are disappointed constantly because they're fans of movies, not because they're haters. They want it to be good. I've never put a movie on and thought, such and such is producing this or so and so directed it. I really hope this sucks. I want to be surprised. If I'm
Right.
like, I don't normally like this actor, but they really were good in this. That's a great surprise. So
Absolutely.
my only thing with people that don't like my movies is I'm trying to one day surprise them that they might go, huh, I wasn't expecting that from him.
Well,
And that would be a great feeling.
I particularly enjoy, like, let's say, Blood in them Hills. To me,
Oh,
that's a
thank you.
very, very entertaining movie. It's something that, you know, when I look at it, I'm like, okay, what would inspire you to, let's say, uh, mix supernatural with a western and everything? But do you find that in your body of work that you gravitate towards certain genres, or is it that certain characters, or do you favor like traditional stories or characters, or do you wanna always twist a character, like make them unique in a way, something that larger than life, or something very real that captures a part of you when you're trying to write those, the words, the dialogue?
That's a good question, Ray. I was thinking about that today, actually, about, you know, the movies I've made so far. Is there a common thread? It's kind of tough to pinpoint because, I've made a romantic comedy about a surfer. I made a sort of a drama about a relationship drama about a chef, and then I've made a couple westerns. And Blood in Them Hills is a monster movie.
Right.
I think the things I'm interested in, obviously, westerns were a big part of my childhood, growing up in Arizona, and also my love of film started probably with westerns that my grandpa and my dad would show to me. But I'm not necessarily looking to be the guy that makes, a career out of making westerns. Westerns are a tough commercial sell. That's just a practical reality of the industry. But I am interested in America. And I think America is a sort of a mythological place to the rest of the world, but also to ourselves. We have this very strange relationship with our American heroes. Um, I was thinking about it in the context of faith-based films, like the classic like Bible movies, like Ben Hur and the Ten Commandments and films like that, where Hollywood actors would play these Bible characters as real people, deeply flawed. Um, you know, they felt very human. But I feel like a lot of films about America's past are afraid to go there. Like we can acknowledge that George Washington was fundamental to the founding of our country, and also accepts that he was a flawed human and a product of his environment and his time period. That's dramatically interesting to me.
Right.
I don't want to watch a film about a bunch of perfect people because I feel like going back to that honesty thing. I'm like, I don't know any perfect people. So if I have a theme or a type or a genre, I love deeply flawed individuals being put in circumstances where they have to rise above their their deeply flawed character
I
and
agree with you. I agree with
do
you
something good.
Hmm.
You
what they
know,
say, a saying I always say even to my kids is, perfect is boring.
it's so boring.
Perfect is
I
boring.
mean,
Yeah, imperfection, it kind of fascinates you. Like, wow, look at that. Because a Picasso is not symmetrical, but there's so many stories in it, and just
right.
looking at one painting.
I love thinking about that through the lens of art and music, of like, there's technical brilliance. Bob Dylan is not like an opera singer. So why does his music mean so much to me?
Resonate to so many people.
I
Yeah,
don't even think
absolutely.
he's that good of a singer, but I believe him when he sings. Um, and art too is a good, you know, sometimes I don't think it passes the litmus test. I was in Paris last year and we left the Louvre and we went to another museum close by to see some Monets, where he had his lilies, his later work, and it's a very beautiful room, and it's easy to get caught up in all these little individual splotches of color, and when you step back, you're like, wow, it is impressionistic, but it's more than that. It kind of overwhelms you. Then the floor below, we go down, and there's this gallery for an artist, and I won't call him out, and I can't even remember his name, but it made an impression on me because the canvas was blank and white. There was nothing on it, and the caption next to it made me laugh because it was some nonsensical, you know, thing about, well, this is dealing in liminal space, and I'm like, the dude just didn't do the reading, and so he turned in a book report with nothing on it. Like, this is not art. This is a hoax.
Hmm.
And I'm watching all these Parisians and tourists walk around and look interested. I'm like, what are you looking at? It's drywall. It to me, it came across as intellectually dishonest, and there's a lot of that in art, not just in like painting or sculpture or music, but certainly in film. Um, they have that. I think maybe it's Letterboxd, where they ask actors on the red carpet their four favorite movies,
Oh, yeah.
and you'll get like 21-year-old actors list four different Truffaut films. The dude wanted to say Toy Story, but he was afraid of looking childish.
I have
So
Surf's
he
Up
rem-
on my letterbox.
Thank you.
It is in my top four,
There you
right
go.
next to Fight
There you
Club.
go. So there.
Thank you. That is intellectually honest.
Yeah.
I think the sooner this industry accepts that people mostly go to the movies to feel something and be entertained, then we can stop catering to, um, whether it's chasing awards or chasing the dollar. It's always going to be intellectually dishonest.
And also, like, there's so many artistic endeavors that are defined by the critics versus other artists,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Because they happen to have a soapbox to stand on and say, this is good and this is not good, and people just take their word on it versus
Yeah.
experiencing the art for themselves.
I think there are exceptions to every rule. I think there are films that are highly regarded by critics and pass almost every test of taste and the form. I think this is the reason Paul Thomas Anderson is so well regarded by his contemporaries, but also new audiences, is because good is good. And when you see something good, you're inspired by it. When I went and saw One Battle After Another, I wasn't thinking about filmmaking when I watched it. I was just being taken on a journey. It's only after the movie was over that I thought, why aren't we doing more of this? And I just meant like from a technical aspect, like the color grade, the use of camera, the writing, the performances. I just, it's my favorite movie of the year. And that's going to be probably a popular decision. It's probably going to win Best Picture at the Academy Awards. It's not the Best Picture because I say it is. This is one of the rare years where I may agree with the Academy. But again, every once in a while, you'll see a film that you're like, why didn't this work for anybody? I loved it. And that's okay too. Like, that's part of the discovery of what is my taste. Surf's Up is a great example.
Yes. Incredible taste that I have. Thank you very much.
Yes, absolutely. But also, like, I was thinking about Rob Reiner this week. And if you
Rest
think
in
about
peace.
Surf's Up, it kind of like is a play on This Is Spinal Tap. In that it's the sort of that mockumentary form which did not exist before Spinal Tap.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
I remember
we're
that
all
film.
talking about Rob Reiner's body of work this week, and you can draw parallels between great film, highly regarded, and look how it probably influenced this movie getting made. And I think influence is really important.
I think influence is honestly what really puts you facing yourself of why am I doing this? Especially either as a filmmaker, as an actor, as a creative. At a certain point, people are going to be able to see through you in entertainment.
Yeah.
And if you are see-through, you are doing it for not a solidified reason, something very opaque, then it probably won't necessarily get the recognition it needs to, but or that you would want. And let's say that you are full throttle, you are there, you have it all, you know exactly what you're trying to get across, and it's still not going to do as good. But for those that did see it, you're not see-through. And at a certain point, more people will probably see you, as hard as you work, as persistent as you are. And that is what differentiates between those that just stay in that cathartic cycle of, oh, I'm doing this because I think I want to do it, and then nothing's going to happen. Or I know that I'm going to do this. I don't care what anyone else says. I'm going to do it anyway. And, at a certain point, and even if it's never, there's probably going to be at least one person that's like, I know what you're doing, and I like it.
Yeah. Well, I've heard, this is kind of a cynical take, but I've heard actors who have been around a while say that they're concerned about young actors, that there are too many people who don't have any interest in performance, but they're very interested in fame.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of bristled at that the first few times I heard it. Like, no, that's just an older generation saying, dismissing the next one. But the advent and the use of social media on a daily basis has made me question that a little bit,
Oh,
and
for
thought,
sure.
Absolutely.
maybe he's on to something that I don't really get. I do understand the impulse. Every once in a while, I'll have a funny idea, and my first instinct is pick up the cell phone, post it on stories, and let it get a couple laughs.
Mm-hmm.
And I've tried in the last couple of years to resist that urge and let the idea just marinate. If it's really funny, it's going to find its way into a screenplay. And that's such a more satisfying use of an idea than just discarding it like immediately. As soon as like the thought entered my head, like, funny thought, what do you think? And then two people you knew in high school heard it,
Yeah.
and you're like, well, that was it. Yes.
There you go.
That's all I got for
Join
you.
us next week. No.
That's I understand the instant gratification
Yeah.
and what we're searching for in that. I'm not totally convinced that it's a medium tailor-made to replace, and I'm not even just talking about the theatrical experience, but I'm just talking about movies in long form, even if you watch them at home. it's a different experience than scrolling on social media or watching things in like 2-minute clips.
Yeah, the attention
It's a
spans.
deliberate choice to say, I'm going to carve out 2 hours to watch a film, whether it's a new film or a film I've seen 1,000 times. Um, it's just, it uses a different part of your brain. You know, you
And
think about my phone addiction. If I pick it up and I'm scrolling through Instagram and something amuses me, but then 10 things are uninteresting, that almost is a reflex. It's not even a choice. It's something you have to be like, whoa, put it down. Your kid is trying to get your attention. But last night I laid in bed looking for something to watch and spent 45 minutes scrolling through every streamer and thinking, there's nothing on. There's nothing good. I've seen it all. And I ended up choosing Die Hard 2 because
I
I
mean, it is
watched Die
Christmas.
Hard a couple days ago. And in my mind, I was like, I don't think Die Hard 2 is as good, but I haven't seen it in a long time. And maybe I'm wrong. And I wasn't wrong. It's not that good. But it was a choice I made. So it had my attention. And I was entertained because I really like Bruce Willis in his prime doing his thing. And he had my attention for 2 hours. And then it's over. With cell phones and social media and all of that, I think we could all just, like, eventually something will replace it and we won't miss it. We won't be nostalgic for it. I'm not nostalgic for Vines.
Right.
They just, they
Yeah, they
get
faded
replaced
away.
by whatever
Yeah.
comes next.
Absolutely. No, sort of to echo some of the things you were talking about, but attention spans have permeated almost every sort of art form. If you think about it, if it's easy to digest, you see authors that turn to shorter chapters, just because somebody can read a chapter that's 1 or 2 pages and put the book down, right?
Yeah.
So I never understood that you don't have time to watch a 2-hour movie, but you have time to binge watch a whole season.
Right.
And when I
That
think
is weird too.
when I think about it from a time perspective too, 2 hours of a movie versus 2 hours doom scrolling on your phone. You can tell me what happened in that movie because you were sat, engaged, listening, watching, understanding. The minute that you go over to the phone, tell me what you saw 30 minutes ago. Tell me at least one video in full, everything that they said. Probably couldn't do it. And it's just because it's mindless. There's no,
Right.
I don't even think that they're like, at a certain point, I can even say this for myself, like, I'm not actually digesting anything. I'm kind of just, it's like looking at a menu, but I'm not, there's no sustenance there. I'm not being fed. But when I have to sit down, watch a movie, eat the meal, cut the steak with a hard knife, then yeah, I get full. And I actually get to talk about it after and say, you know what, too much seasoning there, didn't really like that actor, kind of was a little overcooked, spent too long with this dialogue. But it opens that conversation at least. And it doesn't just open up as fast as it opens up. It doesn't close just as fast as you can open up. Definitely social media is affecting the way that we digest and even go look for entertainment, especially movies. And only because they're longer and people don't want to sit down nowadays, which makes me sad.
It's something that going back to last year when I went to Paris, the way they eat, and I'm not talking about the food, but just the form with which you sit and eat a meal is completely different. I took my 4-year-old to Taco Bell yesterday, and I got antsy because it took about 15-20 minutes to get our food, and we had somewhere to be. And I caught myself going, this is a function. This is not enjoyable. It's lunchtime. I skipped breakfast. I'm hungry. She wants a burrito. Let's go. Let's get this over with. So much of our culture is about getting through stuff instead of living in it. When you go to Paris, and really all of Europe is like this, but France has kind of mastered this. You could sit down and order nothing but a little cappuccino and sit there for 2 hours, and the waiter would never prompt you to leave. If you want to, you can flag him down, get your check, and leave. But if you want to just sit in the moment and be in it, you're welcome to. And when people are romantic about places like that, I don't think that they understand that that's part of what they're romantic about, what they're fantasizing. I'm not saying every film needs to be like that. But if it's good enough for me to not see a 3-hour runtime and go, oof, 3 hours plus 30 minutes of previews plus the drive and the babysitter, like you're calculating in your head, like, can I even see a movie today? Then maybe you're too busy already. If you can, like, the thing that's most shocking to me about this industry is a lot of the people I've worked with, whether it's actors, other producers, when we get talking about films, and I make a reference to something that came out in the last 6 months, and I hear this a lot. Oh, I don't watch movies, or I need to watch that. It's on my list. It baffles me how many people in this industry actually don't watch movies. I'm like, what are you interested in then? Like, the secret hack, the reason people revere the films of Steven Spielberg and Francis Ford Coppola and Martin Scorsese is because they were film nerds first. Like, they were obsessed with movies. And I think the only qualifier for me as a filmmaker is I, too, am obsessed with movies. And I don't love it less because I've seen behind the curtain and know how it gets done. If anything, it makes it more magical to me because I know how hard it is.
It's a different
to make it
appreciation,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, because
absolutely.
It's a miracle to make a movie, but it's even more of a miracle when it turns out good. And so when you see people whose batting average is so high and you try to pinpoint what are they doing that I'm not doing, it's rarely some technical thing. It's usually an instinct that has been cultivated through just being a fan and a film watcher first. So to get on my old man soapbox about the next generation, the thing that deeply concerns me is, are we losing our attention for movies to the point where we're going to try to replace them with something else, that they're not of interest to us? Or if it's old, or if it's black and white, or if it's not, I don't know. There's a lot of films that are not easily accessible. You kind of have to hunt them down.
And you touched upon something that I guess we've all experienced at one point. It's like, aside from attention spans being drastically reduced by just consuming information so fast and everything from so many different sources and everything, is some movies take years to make because of the artist that's trying to communicate that or craft it has gone through the process of refining what it is that he wants to show, he or she wants to show visually and everything. And the worst thing that I've heard and I continue to hear is, what's your best elevator pitch?
Yeah.
Reduced to 13 seconds of that's it. That's all you're gonna get, versus just allowing a person to say, this is my presentation. You either like it or you don't, right? But at least hear it out, right?
It's a futile attempt because my goal is to make people feel something. So imagine asking a musician, hey, what's your song about?
Right.
Instead of
exactly.
Play me something.
Exactly.
You're not even opening the window to the possibility
exactly.
that you might feel something. every once in a while, it all clicks together. I remember recently hearing James Cameron say that he pitched to producers Titanic with a painting. It was a painting of the ship sinking. It's kind of a famous painting. He took that to a producer, or at least this is how the story goes. He says, Romeo and Juliet on this boat. And that's, sort of a simplified version. Obviously,
that's probably all the time he had.
Titanic made $1 billion, and James Cameron is not somebody I would ever bet against. But he's shortchanging that while it might have got the film made, what made the film a success was all of the other stuff that he brought to it. That he could have made a lesser film. He could have played it safe. He could have done things differently and might not be as regarded as it is today. And so there's a lesson in that. I think it's a huge disservice to artists, like you said, Ray, to be like, well, what's the shortest version of what you're trying to sell me? And that's going back to that question about honesty. Can you even articulate something like that in 2 or 3 sentences? I certainly don't think you can, but I'm long-winded. So.
And also, Kellen, we want to thank you enormously for having been with us today on this podcast. It's one of our greatest honors to have somebody that has been so experienced in directing, writing, and and so many movies under your belt. An awesome body of work. People should go check out the movies because I've seen them all.
Well, it's always nice to hear, and I certainly appreciate it. I think
more things to come as well.
I think that what I'm excited about for myself and my career is I know that my best work is ahead of me. Like 4 films in, and I think I'm finally starting to figure out what I'm doing and what I want to say. And so when I think about the next 3 or 4 films that I have in development, I think about those more than I think about the films I've already made. And that gets me really, really excited. And so I appreciate the opportunity to come on and talk about it.
Thank you so much. We can't wait to see what you do in the future, of course, as always.
No, thank you.
Absolutely. And as always, you are one of the house now. You are a member of La Casa, so you're welcome at any time to Ancient City Creatives here in the heart of St. Augustine.
I can't wait to get out there and actually tour the studio. It's on my bucket list.
Absolutely. We'll have you here on set, and we'll have an amazing conversation, and hopefully some other good news for you.
Yes. Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much,
All right. Thank you.